I'm Morgan,
and we know better.
Hi, guys. Welcome to episode 16.
Hi. We're very close together and Ginger smushed between us today.
Yeah, we're getting cozy in here. I feel like, well, when we started, I don't feel like we had the Pikachus on the bed.
I like this setup, though. It's, like, formed a good circle.
No, it feels comfy cozy. I hope you guys can feel that, too. It feels like, yeah, you're just hanging out with us. Pretend that the bed is extra long or whatever, and you're all the way over there and not sitting on a shelf.
And I will say I've really appreciated the pod setup, because when I'm in here, like, reading or hanging out, laying, like, against the body pillow you're on, or just, like, it creates a perfect little nest. I just have to bring a blanket on top of me. It's perfect.
It is well. So, yeah, it's nice and cozy. I've been trying to decorate my spare room, because we did say that maybe once upon a time we might film at my apartment. So that's kind of coming together. I don't think it will be as cozy, though. I don't think you can beat the coziness
of the anime room.
The anime body pillows.
And you know what? If we do end up... or I think we should, even if we don't change it to the main point, but making it so that we have two potential locations, so you're not always coming here.
Yeah.
Or, you know what I mean? To make it a little bit more even.
Yeah.
But also, if we do, / when we do, I should bring the Gojo anyway.
Sure, yeah.
So that he's always, his abs are always, like, a little in the background.
Right.
When I edit, what I notice the most, like, when I'm zoning out, because I mostly am just listening for how we sound, I care less about what we look like. If you see how I cut, it never looks nice, but it sounds nice.
Yes.
Just because, you know, the audio is the point. But sometimes I'll be, like, watching, and I'll be like, what the fuck? And it's just Ginger, and she just straight up looks dead. And, like, for, like, 10 minutes or 30 minutes straight, because she's not moving, or her eyes are rolled back. Or I'll, like, look to the side, and it's just, like, Gojo's, like, straight up, like, ripping his shirt open, and I'm like, and we don't speak about it at all. Like, we don't even acknowledge it. And then for the last episode, when you shifted, and then your Slushy News boxers was just like, the pussy frame of them looking right into the camera.
Literally
I was laughing,
making eye contact.
It was even funnier because it was only lasted like 5 minutes. You shifted, and then they peeked out, and then you shifted again, and they were gone.
Yeah. Right, and so that coziness will not be replicated in my apartment, but I did just hang my pride flags up. Yay. So that's nice. That'd
Did
be
Chip
a
like
background. He has no comment. He didn't
He
have anything to say.
He could be an ally, or maybe he's closeted. He could just not be sure. He could be unlabeled.
He could be unlabeled.
That's
which
what
is, I guess, technically what he is right now, because I just don't know.
Yeah. No, me and Chip both be kind of in the same boat, I suppose.
Exactly.
Not Ginger. She's hashtag straight and hashtag not an ally.
And homophobic. Like, that's well established, well known. The labels are strong for her. Yeah, well, today, guys, we thought it'd be fun to talk about just like our hot takes with media. Or just in media, because we're obviously very well educated and everything media wise, and our opinions are always the correct ones. So just keep that in mind as we go through.
And I know you were saying that with sarcasm, but I would say, I mean, obviously we don't have a formal education in media, but I think we both are so, one, chronically online, and two, media consumers. Sure. And both of us have love languages of sharing media. Definitely. That I do think that we have been watching I also think since moving here, I've like my amount of movies I've watched all the time exponentially increasing. But fair. I think we both have a valid opinion / like thoughts now when consuming media.
Yes,
maybe I speak for both of us when I shouldn't, but I feel that way about myself.
Well, I think our opinions are valid, but I'm not sure, if you don't, basically to say if you don't agree with them, I don't care. Yeah. Well, that I fear is the point of the podcast. Yeah. We know better, so our opinions on this oh my God,
are going to be correct.
It really is so topical. It is a perfect topic when you think about it. Like, this is what the podcast is for. We're giving you our opinions, and you have to listen.
And maybe this will inspire more of the men rage baiting against us.
Oh, yeah.
Once again.
I'm sure there would be.
If we talk about Game of Thrones, they will be.
Yes. And also just, like we just share our opinions mostly with each other and also our friends who mostly
the same
agree with the opinions. And so then it's like, what's there to talk about? So we talk to you guys pretending we have to convince you of an opinion, because if there's one thing that we like to do, it's try to convince you that we're right.
Yeah.
And so we can't do that to each other because we already agree.
The funny thing is, me and Erin talk about this, my freshman year college roommate and close friend, all the time, because we have created an echo chamber between the two of us, because she literally says, like, I'm the reason she believes in soulmates. Like, we are so locked in and, like, think the same thing about everything. She had me read the Hunger Games book because, spoiler alert, she did not like the newest one. She thought it was poorly written, but she didn't share that with me. But everyone loved it. And that book came out and everybody has been praising it. And she was like, I'm the only one who thinks this. I read all of the Hunger Games books, and then I read that one, and I texted her, and I was like, I don't know if you're gonna agree with me, but this book is kind of like shit. And she was like, thank you! You are the only person who shares this idea! And we were both like, so we're an echo chamber. Cute. So we love to make each other watch media that each other enjoys. And then we'll just be like, so we agree that we're right and everyone else is clearly wrong.
Yes.
So I love a good echo chamber of opinions. I actually don't want anyone to ever disagree with me because I'm always right.
Yeah.
But that leads me to my very first hot take. I've actually, since the podcast's conception, that's the word I was looking for. Since the podcast's conception, I've been wanting to talk about the Minecraft movie, and probably not for the reasons that you're thinking. I don't want to talk about my opinion about the movie itself, or the memes or the plot lines. I want to talk about the very obvious gay subtext between Jack Black and Jason Momoa's characters. And there is a whole, and that in general, but more specifically, there is a whole scene where I think Jack Black is riding on Jason Momoa's back or something like that. But they're like on top of each other. Someone's topping and someone is clearly bottoming. And they're like, the whole idea is they're on like a jetpack that's failing and they're trying to get in position to go faster, beat the enemies, or make it around cliffs and whatever the fuck, right? But they keep moving and like hitting different, very obvious gay sex positions and making like I forget, it's been so long I don't remember the quotes, but like making quotes like, oh, push it here, move, like, it, to me, it felt like the whole, like, when the scene ended, I was like, was that like an actual for real gay sex joke in my Minecraft movie? Like, I think the gay subtext was purposeful between those two characters, and I think I can support that, even if, because I think in modern media nowadays, I mean, anime is also a really good, shonen, for example, which is action anime, is also a really good example of this. Like, a lot of very popular media, the execs and the things that control those decisions will not allow you to make overtly gay characters or plots or romances. And so I feel like it is okay and important in media to have that sort of subtext where you can assume without them saying it to you. But I don't know how I feel about the brunt of the joke of that scene of them flying through the air being gay sex funny.
Yeah.
And also, like, it's a kids movie, and I don't think gayness and queerness is something that should not be included in kids movies. I actually do think it should be, because it should be normalized.
Yes.
But the sex part felt weird.
Yeah.
Like, you're making sex positions in this, even if there was a guy and a girl, they're making sex positions in the sky, and the joke, like, there was no other joke. Like, there was no other joke. Exactly, they were humping each other, and they were getting up in each other's business. They were touching on each other's dicks and shit. Like, that was the joke.
Yes.
And I finished it, and I was like, I don't know how I feel about that at all.
Yeah. Yes, and so, context that I haven't seen the Minecraft movie yet, but when Elizabeth was describing me, and I have seen that scene, and was describing it to me, that was one of my, like, thoughts, or I guess concerns, and I guess this is where my hot take is that I think there's a really hard line, or it's not even a hard line, isn't the best word for it, but like, there is purposefully queer baiting isn't the right word, because it makes it think like they're like trying not to, they're not actually queer, but they're trying to insinuate they are, but maybe they actually are, because in the purpose that Elizabeth said of like, they can't actually put that in a movie because the executives wouldn't allow them to. But there's a difference between like you're not allowed to make a relationship queer, but you're still going to allude to it, and you're going to, like, it can be assumed by the type of audience that would make that inference or have the ability to see that. And queer baiting for the point of, like, a joke. And I think that's really true. That's why, like, comedy movies especially, it feels hard for me to be like, it feels weird to me because like comedy movies of the past specifically are like being gay is a joke, especially between men. I mean women too, of course, but like for men it's like, oh, you accidentally touch another man's butt, you're gay, that's haha funny, oh my god, how could you dare you be gay, and so my concern with that scene was like, okay, well, are we doing like, what is the joke that haha they're gay? Because like if that's true, then why is that funny? Or is the joke, I guess, they're just doing sex positions? But then as you said, then I also feel even weirder because that's a kid movie, so why are we making haha it's funny because it's sex positions? And
I'm sure the reason that like bit was put in was because like haha they have to like move around and like whatever, and it looks like he's riding him, but but still when I say it still sounds fucking weird in my opinion.
Yeah,
like yes, I completely agree with you. When I first saw it, I remember when we talked about it, I was really excited about it as opposed to against it, because I was talking to you about how exciting it was that it was pretty overt in the implication, even though they didn't say it explicitly. I mean, at the end, spoiler alert, I'm sorry if you haven't seen the Minecraft movie at this point, I'm gonna spoil it for you. Jack Black, he lives in the Minecraft world. He leaves to go back to real life to live with Jason Momoa, and because their friendship, quote unquote, but like he doesn't even say friendship. He says, "Oh, I want to come back with you."
Yeah,
like that. So that in my opinion, is implying gay, gay. Or romantic in some way, you know what I mean? Jason Momoa sacrifices himself for Jack Black, also in a big point where you think he's actually dead up until the end of the movie, and like the only reason, the main decision that Jack Black decides, oh, I do want to live among humans again, is Jason Momoa. And to me, I was really excited about that because yes, obviously it's not overt, he's not saying I'm in love with you, which is upsetting in some ways, but I do think it's a cool step because I mean, the Minecraft movie, everyone across age ranges was gonna go see that shit. You know what I mean? Yeah. Regardless of how good or bad the movie was. I thought that was cool, but I do agree with how I opened it. The more you think about that one specific scene, it's, if the butt of the joke is, you're exactly what you said. If the butt of the joke is haha gay sex or being gay is funny, then it's not fucking funny.
Yeah. And
then you shouldn't add that in. Right. Which is like, I feel like a big reason why I hate old Adam Sandler movies. Not just the gay part. Yeah. But the...
No, 100%.
I'm sorry. Hot take on media. Adam Sandler movies aren't funny. Not when you're an adult in this day and age. Maybe if you were an adult in the early 2000s. And I was a kid in the early 2000s, and I recently rewatched Grown Ups. I couldn't even get through the second one, to be honest. I thought it was just so bad. But, like, I loved Grown Ups 1 and 2 growing up. But, like, I rewatched it as an adult a few months ago because like we said in a few podcast episodes ago, I am chasing the high of Bottoms. Like, I want to watch something as funny as I Found Bottoms.
Won't happen.
No. And I was watching it and I was like, what the fuck? Grown Ups 1 is so fucked up. Actually, if any of you guys think that movie stands now, fuck you. Like, actually, there's a whole bit with Kevin James. The only thing that I found interesting about Grown Ups was rewatching it and being like, Kevin James could 100% hit. That man is hot. I want to fuck Kevin James. But that's besides the point. He has this bit where they're talking about the last time they've had sex with their wives and how growing up having kids like kills the mood, and he's like, well, I think St. Patrick's Day count, and they're like, what do you mean does it kind of count? And he was like, well, she was asleep, so, and it's like, oh, so a rape joke. Yeah. And they all laughed. I was like, oh, so Adam Sandler wrote a rape joke in his movie. And not only that, then one of the Outcast friend, I forget his name, there's a huge plot point where his two daughters come to visit all of a sudden because they're like estranged or whatever, and all of the other guys want to fuck his teenage daughters, and the whole bit is they're trying to take turns on the lawn watching them try to fix their car. They're teenage daughters. Oh, so you're writing movies about y'all catching cases. Like, that is nasty. The only fucking thing I found that I actually laughed out loud and found funny was the one scene when they're at the water park and it's the moms. It's the moms all together, and they're talking, and then there's a hot guy who is an adult, clearly an adult, is over there, and they're like, oh, he's like looking at one of you, and they're like all trying to like look sexy, but like they're obviously not. It was just I found those comedians really funny, and then he comes over and he has the most fuck ass voice, like hilarious. I found the whole thing hilarious.
The kid bits in that movie were funny too, like just the being bad kids, or just the chocolate wasted, or you know, like doing more grown-up-y things, not in a weird way, but like it was like cute, funny, but like genuinely the men in the movie, which is what it's mostly about, is the men, and you're like,
yeah, I didn't think that
I don't want to be. I don't want to know you. I wouldn't want to know you. I hate that there are men that actually exist like that in the real life.
And like clearly that formed some of our men's humors, in my opinion, because that at the time when we were kids, Adam Sandler movies were the shit.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, I mean, even I was watching them, and I mean, I don't think they're specifically tailored to men, but like, I'm 100% sure that was informing men's humor back then in the same way that Wes and Corey was informing my humor, and like, I'm trying to think of another thing that kind of informed my humor. I can't think of what I wanted to say off the top of my head right now, but some other thing that totally informed my humor. Do you know? Oh, Gravity Falls, shit like that, heavily informed my humor. But yeah, no, fuck Adam Sandler movies. I don't find them funny. I actually don't think any comedy movies made by men are funny. Is that a hot take? The Hangover, not that funny.
I suppose. I bet people would try to prove you wrong, but it sounds like.
The Hangover, I also watched for the first time as an adult. The only thing that movie taught me was that Bradley Cooper is really fucking hot. I never saw the appeal about Bradley Cooper, and then I saw him in that movie, and I was like, well, so y'all made a movie just about how hot Bradley Cooper is. Well, and yes,
but let me say this now. Pitch Perfect was by a man.
Was by man?
Was by a man.
I thought Elizabeth Banks produced it. Oh, but I guess she would have written it.
Doesn't. Yeah, I guess I don't know who written. I just know the director was a man.
In my head, she was involved in that making of it, but I probably am just misinformed.
I mean, with production, I guess she has some say, but I mean, not
right.
Really
but like the script is, I feel like, the basis of that humor. That's so weird that a man. Why do men write movies where women are the main characters? Like, what the fuck do you know about a woman? That pisses me off.
A woman and a man wrote the screenplay.
Okay.
But it was directed by a man.
Well, so that's probably why there's that fucking vomit.
But anyways.
What did you think about the lesbian representation in Pitch Perfect? That one lesbian character.
Oh, God. I haven't seen Pitch Perfect in a while. I mean...
They made it the brunt of a joke.
Yes.
That she was a lesbian.
Yeah. But, I mean, they...
To me, Pitch Perfect
what she wasn't, though. Wasn't that the whole thing? Was she was like, I'm not a lesbian.
She denied it the whole time, but she was. And then when they sat down for, like, the truth... Because they all just assumed she was because of the way she dressed.
Yeah.
And she was like, no. I don't know.
I feel like the humor... No, I mean, it's very, like... Would it fly as much nowadays? I'm not so sure. But I think it was more of, like... The humor wasn't that... It wasn't because, like,
big boobs.
Well, yeah, but I think the humor is that she's saying that she's not a lesbian, but then she's acting like a lesbian. So the humor is in the denial of the fact, rather as, haha, you're a lesbian, that's funny.
But is acting like a lesbian, is that lesbian representation really good when what
I
she
didn't
was
say
doing...
that, I was talking about the humor part of it.
Okay.
No,
was her touching on the girl with big boobs all the time and, like, not really with consent at all? Like, just trying to cop a feel? Like,
no.
Maybe that's what I didn't really love about it. And also... Do I find it... I don't know, though, because I do make those assumptions as well. Like, if you dress like a lesbian in my head, I'm like, you're a lesbian. But I don't know if I necessarily think that's a stereotype we should be affirming and making in media.
Yeah.
But I guess that makes me a hypocrite to say, because I feel like I still do that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I feel like Pitch Perfect kind of falls in the same way where I view Rocky Horror, where, like, it's not really... Rocky Horror is way more offensive to the queer community than in basis than Pitch Perfect, but both kind of poor representations. But because of the queer cult following and obsession that the queer community has had with it, it's almost become its own. Because Rocky Horror is queer culture now.
Yes.
But when you look at, I mean, there's a whole song called Sweet Transvestite, like that, you can't fucking say that. And there's a lot of things about transness that are just so misrepresented and poorly represented in that movie, but because of its cult following and how much queer people loved it and made it their own. It is queer culture now.
Yeah.
And I don't think Pitch Perfect maybe to that extent. Maybe I'm making it too broad of an umbrella. But I do think, like, in a way, Pitch Perfect is lesbian culture, like, and queer culture in general.
Yeah, I think I could agree with that. But yeah, I mean, the whole, like, it's easy to say that, yes, it's, like, comedy off of the point of, you know, kind of misdirection or, like, expect the unexpected, because it's the same thing with Fat Amy, where it's, she's fat, but she is super sexually,
appealing? Like, she gets bitches.
Well, no, she doesn't necessarily, but she's sexually open, I guess, or free. Like, she's like, I think we're taught a lot in movies that fat people need to be shy and reserved and not confident. But Fat Amy is the most confident woman in the whole damn thing. She is
I also think
so
she
confident.
did get bitches, though. I guess that's not the point, though. I guess that's not the point of her character. But I did appreciate that, because I think hand in hand it goes with the fact that, like, fat people are always the people that, like, oh, like, no one wants me, and, like, the story of a fat person typically in media is about how, like, they're, like, the one person falls in love with them, or how they are so, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, just to have a fat character, and, like, the premise, but the thing is, the premise is for Fat Amy that she is fat, but besides that, you know, like, she fuck bitches get money. Like, when she went on that spring break vacation in that scene in the movie, and she's laying in a pool with a ton of hot men. Right. And she's fucking on all of them. Yeah. And I was like, well, yes.
But, yeah, but the whole humor in that, at least, is that you wouldn't expect it because she's fat. Mm-hmm. Which is like, but that's not funny, because why? Right. Like, she gets it because she's confident, and she should be. Anyways. So that's... Yeah, like, it's the same thing. It's like the same thing with the lesbian thing.
I think that actress totally got typecasted too for, like, ever since then. Mm-hmm. I felt like that was kind of fucked. Her character in so many comedies was just like the fat friend, and the premise, the joke of her character, which sucks, because I do think she is fucking funny. Her line deliveries are funny. She is funny. With, like, her and Bumper were funny as fuck. Like, just jokes outside of her being fat, if that makes sense. Like, kind of to speak to what you're saying, that she's confident and outgoing and stuff. Yeah. And I find the actress funny, but if you look at most of her other roles in comedy movies, it's like you could just put the word fat in front of the character's name, and, like, that's the whole bit. Yeah. Which kind of sucks, in my opinion. Not that she shouldn't be playing a fat character, but, like, the jokes around her shouldn't be just because she's fat. It doesn't need to be fat equals bad, basically, at the end of the day.
Exactly.
And that's the joke. Yeah.
Yeah. What else? We both agree on this. Well, kind of to take a turn, but we do not think sexual assault should be graphically depicted in any media.
No.
We think that if you can't, that of course sexual assault in media is important to depict, and I'll say important to depict if it is the purposeful in the storyline and you're going to do something specific with it.
It's an important thing to talk about.
Yes.
And those stories are valuable.
But I don't think there's ever an actual need to depict it. You can have a successful storyline without the graphic showing of it and still work around that.
Yes, I 100%
and so
agree.
Putting that in a movie is just, I don't agree. I don't agree with that.
And that's,
or a movie or TV show.
And that's where my really flaming hot take, I think Game of Thrones is unwatchable, in my opinion. There is so much graphic depiction of rape, and there's also gore, but I think it's important conversation, because I think this goes in hand with, I think about horror movies. Why is so much gore and horror based around a woman's suffering and torture, and also it's always somehow sexual in nature? Like, that is fucking creepy, I think, and predatory, and I think a lot of horror movies go into that as well, to, like, it's almost like they're trying to make the woman dying, like, her torture is, like, sexy, or they really focus on this hot woman being tortured. And it's like, you know that they're doing that for a sexual purpose, but I digress about that. I think Game of Thrones is unfucking watchable, and I think it's a valid opinion for me to have, because they didn't, everyone's like, but it is so good, and listen, I'm sure some of the fantasy elements are that good, right? Because it wouldn't have been as popular as it was if it wasn't, and it is still, it, like, kickstarted, I feel, the general zeitgeist being obsessed with fantasy. I do think that, but Game of Thrones was so obviously made for men. It was so obviously made for men. The first episode has just straight up graphic sexual content. Some of the first things about Daenerys, sorry, I obviously didn't fucking watch it. I don't know. Was her, I'm pretty sure her storyline opens with her getting betrothed to this man and he fucking rapes her. Mm-hmm. Like at their wedding.
Right.
Or after their wedding or some shit like that. Like, it is so obvious that the executive team, what they are trying to feed you with Game of Thrones was to appeal to men with sex and blood and violence, and specifically violence against women. And you cannot convince me that that is not what Game of Thrones is trying to do, because it fucking is.
And I lost my train of thought, but I agree with those points completely in that I don't think all of the sexual assault in that show is necessary, but there is something to be said that yes, the sexual assault for some of these characters is integral to their storyline and how they develop, and so we're not saying that it needs to be taken out completely, but to show it graphically, like what are we gaining from that? Because this is how you know it's for men, because if it was for women, you wouldn't need to show it, because women know how to feel empathy for that, which men aren't. But the whole point is, like, I could see people making the argument of, well, you have to show it because it needs to be graphic enough. You really need to understand and grapple the feeling and the emotions in that assault. Hey, women can do that without seeing it.
And also,
women can feel because we've lived it. So it's for men, but men aren't getting, most men, I will say, I'm sure there are some men that are able to, I mean, that's kind of scary to think that you have to see a rape scene on Game of Thrones, a graphic rape scene, and be like, oh, guys, rape is bad.
Yeah.
I
am sorry, I don't find the argument valid, not your argument, what you're also defending against. Mm-hmm. That is not a valid argument, because I'm sorry, for every woman or person who is seeing that graphic rape scene and really feeling that emotion in the moment, there are 10 men who are jerking off to it, getting hard to it, or finding it sexually attractive in nature. And that is why it's in there.
Exactly.
It's in there because rape and non-consensual sex is appealing to people. Mm-hmm. Like, specifically men. I mean, I'm talking about specifically to men in my argument, but I know that it's everyone.
Yes.
But, like, we are obsessed with sex, and I'm sorry, there would not be a Pornhub category, or there would not be fucking porn for fake non-consensual relationships and things like that if there weren't people who were into it. Yeah. And putting that in broad media is just feeding into that.
Yeah.
And feeding into that appeal to men.
Yes.
And that's why I feel like Game of Thrones utilizes sex scenes as well as explicit sexual assault scenes, because they want to appeal to men. Mm-hmm. Like, in the same way that I think Bridgerton focuses so much on the lingering looks and the yearning and the whatever, because I think Bridgerton is specifically trying to appeal to women. I think there is specific ways that media tries to appeal to one group or another.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, Game of Thrones is the classic example of trying to appeal to men. And I think anything that tries to appeal to men or try to appeal masculine in nature is going to show sex and violence.
Yeah. No, okay, so this is what I just thought of. And I'll say that storyline goes through with The Sopranos as well, which is a show I genuinely enjoy. And it's the point, and I think this is true with Game of Thrones too, you're not supposed to look at these sexual assaults or any of these men that are committing these crimes really as like role models, or you're supposed to recognize that they're bad men even though we're seeing it from their storyline. But I don't think that everyone watching has the ability to do that or cares to, like, not even just has the ability, they don't care, like, they're not going to think as critically, like, your point you're putting in that scene, I want people to think critically about sexual assault. They're not going to do that, and they're just going to jerk off to it. But anyways, what made me thought of that was 13 Reasons Why with its graphicness, but that wasn't marketed towards men. That was definitely marketed towards women and children. What was the reason we think they put that in graphically?
13 Reasons Why.
I mean, Euphoria kind of too.
Well, I can't even fucking watch Euphoria. Yeah. Like, I actually was triggered. I was like, I've actually experienced enough abuse of substances, drug addiction, and sexual assault for my lifetime that I actually don't need to rewatch it occur to high schoolers. I actually lived that when I was in high school, so I'm okay. I actually think people's obsession with Euphoria, that's another really hot take. I don't think Euphoria is, I guess I can't say whether it's good or not. Maybe what they're trying to say and the characters are good, but I also think Euphoria does fall into that same category of why the fuck do we have to show this so graphically? And to me, I was surprised with Euphoria's widespread appeal because I found it super triggering, but I also can know that it's specific to me that I find it triggering. But, like, that's another one where I was like, I don't understand how all of you all can get behind this, and these teenagers, like, clearly getting raped and clearly abusing drugs and, like, not, I don't know. How do you sit and stand and watch it? I don't know. I stopped watching after Jules fucks the dad.
Yes.
And I was like,
she was mostly basically raped.
Yep. And I was watching it with Nick at the time when we were dating, and he was like, oh my god, this seems so good, we should keep watching it. And I was sitting there and I was like, I feel sick. I actually want to go home. Like, I don't want to ever see any of this ever again. Turn it off.
Well, and then this is coming from someone who did finish Euphoria. Well, I guess there's a new season coming, and I did enjoy it. There's a lot of entertaining pieces in it too, but I can also still say that I think the graphicness of it all is necessary. No, but it does, like, I think that's a better example than, like, Sopranos sexual assault, where they do use it as a storyline, and it is integral to the character, and it's, you know, it's important to Jules' character. Did we need to see it? No. Especially when we know that children are watching. And I know they can claim that they're not, like, especially after, you know, for the first season, that they weren't intending it for children, but then you go season 2 and then it's still as graphic, and, you know, like, it just, I don't think there's ever, I get sexual assault is important for storylines. Like I said, I can't say that enough. But I cannot think of a single instance where I can say that it needs to be graphic.
Or that it helped the story because it was graphic.
Yes, or that, that it was important, to actually see it. I can't say that.
Until we lived in a society that widely thought that rape and sexual assault was wrong, and that we were educated from a young age to not rape and sexually assault versus the how to keep yourself safe, and if we took it seriously in all cases, that would, like, until we lived in that society, those types of scenes as an art form are never going to be taken the way that they are intended by the broader audience. Exactly what you said. And I think 13 Reasons Why, I think all of that was played up for the dramatic effect of it all as well. All of the graphicness of it, and I think as well it does not add to the story. With the scene with, was his name Bryce, maybe? Bryce and Hannah? Because he rapes her in the hot tub, and that's the episode before she kills herself.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that was his name.
I didn't watch it. For sure. I can't rember her name, but
Hannah.
Okay, so it's Bryce for sure.
They're in the hot tub, and he pushes her down, end it there. But the scene goes on, and you watch him fucking rape her, and I can still see it and hear it in my brain to this day. And when the criticism of that show came out, they removed the scene of her slitting her wrists, which also was, not saying that shouldn't have been removed, because that was also fucking scarring, and I don't think it added anything to it. I also think the sensationalization of suicide, specifically in certain 13 Reasons Why, perpetuates an idea that we get revenge in committing suicide, which I don't agree with, and also makes it normalized for kids, but that's besides the point. We could talk about that after, perhaps. When that criticism came out, everyone hated on the scene of her killing herself, and they were like, you don't need to show that, etc., etc. Agree. Yeah. I don't think the Bryce scene got removed. Or at least I don't remember broad conversation about it. I remember everyone being like, that was too much to watch her slit her wrists.
Yeah, I don't...
Which, like, yes,
I don't know
agree,
at this point,
but I don't remember in that time...
I think definitely, I can't say... I feel like there was conversation around it, and I can't say as to now if they did remove that scene, but I know for sure that it wasn't removed at the same time.
Right. I think in my conversation with my peers, I could probably speak to more accurately... that was not what they were talking about. Was super fucked up, and I remember being like, this is the scariest thing I've ever seen. Yeah. I guess that is another point to my argument. With explicit depictions of rape, is your audience as a broad going to be more scarred or more empathetic? Is it gonna, like, horrify and scare women to their core? I would say yes, more than anyone's ever going to feel emotionally impacted in terms of empathy and, like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're not gaining empathy, you're gaining horror. And just, like, the pit in your stomach, the fear, like, I feel primal fear when I see that, and
maybe that's what they're trying to evoke, though, because any emotion is still emotion, but I don't think
that's valid, though.
Good. Exactly.
Terror in that sense of a woman's safety, just that brings it back to the argument, which I think relates to horror movies: torture of women for the purpose of watching torture of women.
Yeah,
especially in a sexual context,
to evoke emotion, to make you feel something. But it's like, I can feel something for this character even if I don't see it. Mm-hmm. Like, I just don't think I think your broad audience is either gonna be turned on by that or in some fucked up way into it, or it's gonna be traumatizing, and I don't think either of those are valid reasons to include a sex scene, or a rape scene, I mean. Yeah. So, yeah, that's our hot take there with that one. Do you have any others?
What do you think about that, like, 2010s, maybe late 2010s time obsession with stories about suicide and things like that?
I don't know if I have good opinions. I'm not sure of how much media I consumed. I think it's telling of the times, very much on the back of Tumblr.
Yeah.
And, like, that's where things were happening, you know?
Yes. I guess I don't have a much bigger opinion of it. I just think that as a society, we have romanticized killing yourself in the sense of, like, when a famous person kills themselves, they get so many streams, they become a legend, you know what I mean? And they still release music of these people to this day to feed off of the fact that they died. Mac Miller, X, all these people have music still coming out, and it's like, why? Like, especially in this instance where they kill themselves, and you're just profiting off of their death. And alternatively, especially with 13 Reasons Why, this idea that if you kill yourself, the people who have hurt you will be revenged upon in that way.
Yeah, I was gonna say that, or, like, kind of even, like, the sensationalization of, like, failed attempts, and, like, how suddenly, like, a family of support goes around you and everything gets better from there or whatever.
Right.
So people think, well, maybe if I try it and if it doesn't work, then everything will still work. Like, it's still an avenue to make everything work out for me in the end. And not only is that just, you know, encouraging people to try suicide, and even if the hopes that they fail, but that's not true for everyone. People can attempt suicide and their life still does not work out from that point. It still does not get better, per se. I mean, obviously that's not the point, but, like, it's not going to, like, even in the trying to put a positive spin on suicide not working out and, oh, that's great, that's not the truth for everybody.
Yeah, I agree. I think that stories about suicide and suicide as a topic is important to talk about and to destigmatize in a way, but I think a stigma grew around that increase in fame of those types of stories at the time, as well as I think we need to frame it in a framework where it is a tragedy, and what we need to take out of this importance as well as admiration for people who live long lives. Like, that should be the goal or the takeaway, that it's so inspiring for people who can get through things and get through struggles and live really long lives, and not to hate on people or take away from people that did kill themselves or commit suicide. But it should be a framework of, not I should kill myself because, you know, it's gonna get me revenge, but, like, we want to put respect on the people that do live long lives, I guess. It's it's hard to explain, I suppose, but
it's a tough topic,
I think our generation, especially around
that time,
the
graphicness of it, I think, still kind of stands, because I think I can feel empathy for someone who's attempted suicide without actively watching them do it. So
I agree.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of if I have any other hot takes.
Any other specifically queer ones? We kind of talked about, like, queer being used as a joke, but do you have any just, like, about being queer in general or anything like that? Oh, I think we less traumatic ones, or less ones that aren't so, like, most lesbian or sapphic movies
Sapphic media where it's not about them dying in the end, doomed lesbians,
Yes.
like, yes, just, or even, like, you've touched on this, queer stories where the basis of the story is not about coming into your queerness. Someone who is already confidently queer, and not that queerness isn't a part of the story, because I think when you are queer, it's always a part of everything in your story, but, like, where the story isn't about accepting it or getting over internalized homophobia, because those stories are definitely important, but sometimes why can't we just have an action movie or XYZ movie where the main character is a lesbian and, like, doesn't have to go through any horrors in terms of queerness and queer experience? Why can't she just have a hot girlfriend and then they just do an action movie? Like, it's just an action movie. There's no, we either queer, not that queer, it makes me seem like me saying queer media isn't important, because it is, but we want it to be, queer, like, relationships and queer identities should just be normal and a part of movies.
It should
and
be
media.
And because, like, the queer culture should be a part of it, but not every movie has to be about getting into the queer culture. It can be about your living your life with queer culture, because that's more accurate to how people in real life are living our lives. We can be queer, and my whole life is not about being queer. My life, queerness is a part of it, and that should be true for the people that were, real representation, who were watching on TV and movies, is that queerness is a topic and it's a part of the story because they are queer, and of course it comes up in their life. And obviously there's the importance of movies about the oppression that queer people can face, but it also just, like, that's not all we need to see, and there's so much more to being queer than just becoming queer.
Yeah.
There's more to be, there's the living of queer.
And I think an example that is kind of getting at both of our points succinctly is like a sapphic movie, a rom-com where about a girl and her like whatever, or any type of, like, they're gonna get together in the end, two lesbians, but, like, it's just a rom-com, just how straight people can get a rom-com, friends to lovers, When Harry Met Sally. Neither of them had to contemplate how to be straight in those movies, and it wasn't, do you know what I mean? Or like Tragic Ends. Why can't we just have a cute rom-com and they're lesbians, and that is, of course, like an essential part of their identity, but it's just about them getting together. It's not about, I don't know how to say it.
What's good for this? Bottoms.
Yes.
Because Bottoms, they're lesbians from the beginning. That's never questioned. They don't have to be like, well, I guess they do talk about it, which is also good, because she's like, I can't be a lesbian. I'm going to marry a man and be stuck with him forever, and you're going to have to come visit me. Please come visit me, or whatever. And
they even touch on the oppression. And then
she gets the girl in the end, and, like, that's the, I mean, I guess they do, because the other girl's like, she doesn't know, but it's not, like, the main storyline. The main storyline is they are trying to, get a fight club to get girls. And, it's, like, not about coming into the queerness necessarily, but they touch on it.
Yeah, and they do touch on the oppression they feel. I mean, they have, their lockers are literally, like, vandalized with faggot number 1 and 2 every single day, but it's almost like, it's not played for the tragedy of it, if that makes sense, because I think it's a good example of, like, you, no matter what type of queer identity, if you have characters that are queer, it's going to be a part of them, in the sense of, like, they're always going to face some sort of oppression, but it's not the focus. You know what I mean? The focus is them trying to fuck cheerleaders, but it does accurately represent that if you are a lesbian in high school, you are most likely going to receive backlash in some way, and that's just how not how it should work, but that's how modern high schools work, I think, in my opinion. But it's not the main focus of Bottoms. It's not, and not at any point does it focus on that struggle of dealing with that in that sense, like, even though it's still represented as there.
Exactly.
It's always present, but does it have to be the focal point of the tragedy of a story, or the focal point of the story's plotline? Right. Always.
Exactly.
I would hope not, because I think in the way that straight people and straight romance and just straight people in general can be all types of people and experience all types of stories and get all of them in media, should be the exact same thing for queer people. Yeah.
Exactly. And I mean, that kind of goes for, like, all different marginalized communities. And I think this is something we've heard from Black people a lot, too, is Black culture movies are important and about the oppression they face, but they also just want movies where they can be a Black person and also be in Black culture, which I haven't seen yet, but I think people praised, what's the one with SZA and Keke Palmer?
One of Them Days.
One of Them Days, that people praise that movie for being, because it talks about them being Black, but it's also just being in Black culture. So
That movie was very funny.
Yes, we just need more movies like that where we like.
Especially because when you take back the veil on a lot of those movies where it focuses on the pain and the tragedy, it's always someone who's not a part of the community writing the movie, which is always fucking weird.
Right. Yeah. So that's our hot take there. Our hot takes. Do you have any extra to add? Otherwise, I think we can wrap up and move on, but...
I think that anime needs to have less fan service of young girls and just girls, high school girls with their titties and ass out, or voluptuous high school girls. Yeah. But I also think that men who then hate on Jujutsu Kaisen, which is... Oh, thought it was right behind us. Oh, it is. There are kids in that, and they're not fan service there, but I think a lot of the male characters in season 2 of Jujutsu Kaisen, they are all like 27, 28, 29-year-old men, they're fan service in the sense of they're showing them fucking sexy with their muscles when they're fighting, they look sexy, and then a lot of men were like, ew, so like, you guys hate fan service when it's girls and their titties out, but when it's men, it's okay, you fucking hypocrites. And I was like, that's because the shit you're watching is about perverts, pedophiles, like, where the women are fucking underage, they're high schoolers 90% of the time, or it's men preying upon them in creepy ways, or like, you know what I mean? Their skirt blowing up and showing their panties, I don't care if it's a fucking adult, that's fucking weird. But when a man is hot and he's fighting, is that fucking weird? I don't think so. That's just an adult man being hot.
I mean, same thing with a woman fighting and she's being hot.
Yes, and Jujutsu Kaisen does that fucking well. Yeah. All the adults look sexy when they fight it, and that is the truth. And they don't make... My Hero Academia, love that story. Oh my god, they just make the most voluptuous teenagers, and their hero suits are like, their titties out, and it's like, you did not need to do that. Yeah. And it's just... It's the culture of Japan. It is such a normalized culture, this, like, over-sexualization of women. But I just think, one, obviously, that is fucked up and we shouldn't be supporting that. But two, like, fuck you for then your backlash to then when I want to make a man hot. God forbid I want to see an adult man looking hot in his anime. Sorry that I'm not into kids like you. Like, goddamn. Okay, that's my last hot take.
Wait, actually, now that I just thought of it, do you have any opinions on child actors?
I don't know if there's any way that a child actor can get through child acting if they do it consistently through their childhood and not be fucked up. Because Hollywood in itself is a machine that just turns people, it like churns in people and just destroys them.
Yes. I mean, also just...
And exposes them to so much, like... Hollywood exposes you to hard drugs, sex, alcohol, abuse of money, all that, any bad thing you could ever think of, that is what celebrities and rich people are doing. Yeah. Like, that's just a fact. And when you throw a child in the mix, they're getting exposed to it way too early. There's just no way they're not getting fucked up from that.
And that is a good point, and not even the thing I was specifically thinking of, but I also just thought nowhere else is child labor as normalized. Because we're but I mean, their parents are making their children work for money that the children are getting, but, that goes to the parents, and it's like, I think the only other subcategory to that now is, like, child influencing, where children are basically influencers. So, yeah, I guess just to add that, sprinkle that in there, my opinion on that is I don't know how to necessarily stop it, because I guess it's like, what would we gonna CGI every child now in, our,
I don't necessarily
our movies
and
TV?
Ow!
Wow. She's hungry.
I was just literally brushing my fucking, the hair she's getting all over me. It's not dinner time. Stop. Get away.
Ooh, she growled.
Sorry.
I don't know how we could go without having children in movies and TV shows. But, I will say for child influencing, that just doesn't need to exist. There's no actual, I can't think of a single reason why we need to have actual child influencers. But anyways, I digress on all that. I think that's it. This episode's very much, I think, giving friends who are too woke, but I don't give a fuck. And what if we are?
Yeah, you're welcome to argue me about the sexual assault opinion, and guess what? I can argue you back, and also my opinion's not gonna change.
Yeah, I would like...
I don't care.
I'm not gonna watch it. Like, try to give an example of something that's like graphic and for the purpose, or I guess maybe there might be some people with some relevant information about why it's needed in some sort, or like maybe some historical reason for why that it's included just in a storyline capacity. But if you can't explain it in a reason that's not just for the male gaze, really, I mean, then I don't really want to hear it. But anyways, let's get into our unsolicited advice. We had someone ask what to do about children or men rage baiting on social media, or I might have said TikTok. Obviously, this is something we deal with a lot. And unfortunately, the answer, I think, is truly just you have to ignore them. Because the only thing they want from you is your time and energy, and to show that you put any thought and consideration. Like, any sort of quip, that you could push back, which, props to you if you can think of something funny to push back on. But at the end of the day, it's still in their mind. They'll be like, ha, got her. I obviously hurt her feelings. Like,
especially with men, what they want out of that is a rise out of you.
Yeah.
Even if it is through the internet, which is so frustrating because as we say this, like, I have quipped back at people in our comments before. It's, sometimes rage baiting works, man. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know. I can't say that I'm above it all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that is what they want because they just want to argue you further and make you more angry, which... And also in those situations in what they're not making those comments or online or in person to get your perspective and have a productive conversation.
Right.
You're never going to change their mind,
mm-hmm.
which is, I think, the really frustrating things about modern politics, because how do you then change the world for the better? But that's besides the point.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's really all I can say there is you just gotta ignore them.
All right, I got a bit of a long one, but I think will be a good one. Okay, I'm ignoring the first two sentences because that reveals a bit who they are, but that's fine. I'm debating talking to my dad again. Thoughts? My dad and I have been no contact for a few months. Basically, it all started a year ago. He started dating someone who was 27, which is my sister's age. He's in his 60s. I told him I was uncomfortable with it, and he essentially ghosted me. It honestly broke my heart. My sister had the exact same feelings, and he kept trying to talk to her, just not to me. I reached back out to him after a few months and asked why he didn't reach out to me, only to my sister. He told me he just kind of assumed I would come around. Honestly, it just made me feel like he didn't care as much about our relationship. We started talking again, and I told him I wanted him to make more of an effort in my life. He didn't change. He only reached out to me to talk about himself. It hurt that he just didn't care. I didn't invite him to my law school graduation in May because I felt like he didn't know me or wasn't a part of my life. I asked him to apologize for not making an effort and that I didn't want a relationship until he did. Fast forward to now. He never apologized and he doesn't reach out. But part of me thinks maybe I should reach out. I don't know. Help.
Oh, I'm really sorry. That is just such a shitty situation to be in because you don't get to pick your parents, obviously. And so it's really just luck of the draw, in a way of like you getting parents that are engaged and want to be in your life, and parents that are not, or, and parents are just people, and so of course there's a lot of people that are not meant to be parents. So yeah, first of all, I just want to say I'm sorry because you don't deserve that. You deserve to have a parent that does want to be in your life. And so I think it's very common, especially I'm assuming you're a woman. Was that stated? I know you.
No, but okay. You can assume.
Yes. So especially as women, we're taught that we are supposed to please everyone, and that includes our parents, really, and that. So
especially dads.
Yes, and you're going to be taught to, I'm sure you internalize it and think, and, have your thoughts of, like, is it my fault or blah, blah, blah. So I hope you can recognize that your parent is the parent. They are the ones that are meant to be your parent. Like, I don't know, you can't parent your parent. You were meant to be a child and be taken care of by your parent. And obviously you're an adult now, but I hope you don't internalize that, because it's not your fault. Your dad is not an active dad. So yeah, I'll say that to start.
I think, looking at it objectively, of course my advice is going to be that I don't think he's ever going to change, and that I don't think you're ever going to get what you want out of him and out of the relationship. But taking it to that's an objective, but taking it to I know a bit more about the situation from my own experience and from your experience, because I do know who you are, but I'm not going to say that. But from my own personal experience, I think it is pretty valid to try again. And I would not judge you or hold that against you. I had a conversation with my therapist actually last week, about something similar, kind of going along the lines of what you said, where you're always going to want your parent to be a parent, even if consistently they disappoint you and give you not the response or the reassurance or the advice that you're looking for. But it's almost a pattern that, even when you objectively know it's a pattern that you should break or you should stop, being the kid in that situation, you are always going to want your parent. And you want it. It doesn't matter if they're a shitty person. You're always going to want that reassurance or that love or that whatever relationship you're looking for in this instant. You're going to want it with the person who is your parent.
Yeah.
And there's nothing that's going to change that.
I'll say too, just before you go on, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's not like your fault that you have. It's not like
exactly
you have to, like, your dad disappoints you again and again. Why do you keep expecting him to change? Because he's your parent, and of course you're going to want him to be better, because it's human nature. You're just taught. I mean, like, it's biological that you're like, this is my parent. I want to love them. I want them to be good, and I want them to do what I want them to do because I care about them. So just an added caveat to that, you're expected to, expect that from them, but there's nothing wrong with you for expecting a result to change.
Which I guess was sort of my point, in the sense of, like, my advice is, if you want to try to reach out to him again, as your friend, I would support that. And I think that I will be here for you, both of us, but the pod itself and also me personally, will be there for you for whatever support you need for the outcome of that situation. I don't think there's anything wrong with trying again. And you never know when someone's going to change, and it's not wrong for hoping that they will and that the outcome will be different. I think that the chances of that are low, but I do think that if you are missing him and you want him to be in your life again, and you are feeling the urge already to reach out, it's just gonna hurt you for not trying, I think. And I think that it's worth it to try.
Yes.
If that's what you're already thinking that you want to do. If you're already thinking about it, you know what I mean? And that's just, I think that's just kind of the stance I'm gonna take it as. And, I love you, and the pod loves you.
Yes. Thank you for being so vulnerable and submitting this.
It's a really good topic of conversation.
Topic too, because I know there are a lot of people in the same kind of, I mean, not the exact same situation, obviously, but people in the same boat that I think need to hear this conversation of, you're not responsible for what your parents' actions are, and it's okay that you're not. You're because they say the definition of insanity is doing something again and again expecting a different outcome. I don't think that applies here, because, or maybe you are insane, but, like, that's human nature. Why wouldn't you expect the person you love to be better? That's just kind of how it goes. But I'll also say, just with that, and I think your point is, like, the emphasis, because it does sound like this is something you want to do, and so then you should do it. There's, again, nothing wrong with you're hoping that something will be different, and if it's not, hope there'll be people around to support you. I'll say there is also nothing wrong with deciding that you never want to speak or hear from him ever again.
Yes, 100%.
Because, again, you don't owe your parent anything. They have continuously disappointed you, and that sucks to be around. And I think we're also taught that we're supposed to take care of our parents in a way, especially as women. And
you don't have to do that.
You don't have to do that, and you don't have to always give them more chances if you don't want to. If you want them to be in your life, totally. But I don't think it should. I think it should stem from a point of you genuinely wanting it versus you thinking that you have to because they're your parent.
Yep.
You don't have to. They've done enough in your life for you to say, I don't want to give them another chance, and you don't have to because they continue. You don't need that in your life. And then maybe in the future you want to revisit, you'll say, you know what, maybe I do feel like I miss him and I want to reach out and maybe try again. Then that's fine. But like, you don't owe him anything. If you want to try and have him in your life, support that. Whatever is best for you. There's nothing wrong with also saying, fuck him, I don't want to ever see him again. No one on this pod is going to say for sure, like, oh, do you think you'll regret that? Or, I hope you can feel no guilt in that, or try not to feel any guilt in that, because I know it's kind of natural, but you don't owe him anything. You don't owe him the effort of trying to keep someone in your life that does not want to be. So
yeah, I apologize for both of our answers sort of being non-answers, but I think the crux of it is either decision you make, just make what feels in the moment emotionally what you want to truly happen / attempt, and regardless of how it turns out, I know you have people that will be there for you and support you, and even outside of that knowledge, I'll be there for you and to support you, and so will the pod.
Yeah. Because I feel like a lot of our advice answers are kind of that, but we try to consider the nuance in that.
Yes, our opinion is always right, but I think we think of the nuance.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I think the premise of the advice section is unsolicited advice. We want to give you a hard yes or no in that sassy way, you know what I mean, that I'm right and this is just what it is. But I also think we are just both people who are, one, old enough, and two, life experience enough to see all the sides, if that makes sense. And so I think in some scenarios that is the answer. Do you know what I mean? But then it's like, you ask me, is it trad wife, to want to live in the middle of nowhere? And I say, if there's a man, yes.
Yes. Right.
And that's my unsolicited advice.
Yes. Okay, well, best of luck to you. My thoughts are with you, because that's a really, really tough situation. And anyone, not just the advice commenter, but anyone who's in that situation, I empathize with you. So, all right. Must recommend.
Yeah. I had one earlier today, and I was thinking about it while I was driving, and now I'm completely fucking forgetting what my must recommend was gonna be. Darn it. I'll just go general. I think everyone, it's 2025. You all need to just watch an anime. Get into anime in any sense of the form. There is an anime for all of you. I know there is. And it was really taboo. And I say that as part of the people who were the judgment. Because I didn't get into anime until my late teens adult life. My sister was on it way before me in middle school, and I made her life a hell for it. It was weird, and it was judgmental to like anime during that time. And now, in this big year of 2025, it is mainstream. And that is a beautiful thing, and I think if you haven't hopped on it yet, girl, get on. Girl, text me and ask me what anime you specifically should watch, and I will tell you. I have Liv watching Attack on Titan right now. Do I think that is the perfect anime for her personality? No. Do I think that it is the best media ever made? So if I'm going to introduce her to anime as a broadness, that's what I wanted her to watch? Yes. But hopefully she'll be open to watching animes after she finishes Attack on Titan. But
you should make like a BuzzFeed type quiz where like you put in a bunch of answers like to personality
and I tell you what
questions,
anime.
and then,
yeah.
What anime?
So I'll just leave that as a broad one.
Sometimes I feel like there might get to the point where I'm going to be repeating media because I feel like I just don't.
If it's on your mind, though, it's on your mind. So
yeah, but I think the thing I'm thinking right now is get into movie scores as like just like kind of background music. There's so much untapped, or not untapped per se, but like, oh goodness gracious, there's so much there's so much music that comes from movies and TV shows out there that, it's not like, it's not pop music. We're not listening to it for fun, but just like, if you like background noise while you're working or whatever, but not so distracting where it's like words in it, because sometimes I find it hard to work to actual music music with lyrics, because I start concentrating on the words. Put on some like movie soundtracks. There's a lot of good ones out there, and it's just kind of like listening to classical music, but then with like a little bit of an upgrade, and you can like kind of depend on your mood. Like if you go on a walk, I think I've maybe said this before too, but if you go on a walk and like listen to a soundtrack, like you can pretend you're in a movie. It's just like, it's neat. Like people need to tap more into just movie soundtracks, movie scores, I guess is the better way. It's just, I don't know, it kind of it alters your mood in like a positive way, I think. So get into that.
Yeah, your number one album this week on Superfan was the Queen's Gambit soundtrack. So
yes,
I can affirm that she do be doing that.
Yes, I listened to. I'm really curious to see what my Spotify Wrapped is gonna look like, because I think my favorite composers are Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, because they did Gone Girl, which is one of my favorite movies. They did the Challenger soundtrack. They did The Social Network. They helped with Soul. Did they? I'm pretty sure they helped with Soul. Yeah, they did a lot. I really enjoy their music, so I think they're gonna be in my top artists for
I
this
think
Wrapped.
My number one Wrapped song, I'm calling it right now, I'm putting in the bets right now on the pod. I think it's going to either be Melancholy Hill by the Gorillaz, my number one song, or this song by Conan Gray. And I'm hopeful that my number one artist this year will either be 21 Pilots or Conan Gray. However, won't be surprised if it's Taylor Swift once again. She's just so, at least one of her songs I listen to every day. Her discography is so big.
Exactly.
And so like any mood, I make a playlist for every month, and I also make playlists for characters and ships and things like that. You always find at least one, man.
Yeah. You think Wicked is gonna make any lists?
Shit, I don't know, man. Wicked, when it came out, because doesn't it cut off at October 31st? I don't know if that's true. I don't
remember, yeah.
I don't know if Wicked made it in my last year. I don't remember. I can look, but
I don't think so.
I have been listening to it a decent amount. That's a good point. I don't know. I think that's fair. I think that's fair that it's going to be featured in some way, the soundtrack on either of the movies. That's fair. What do you think is going to be your top song? Or are you just saying that you think because of the soundtracks, it'll kind of just fall in that way?
No, because I don't. They might hit one of the tops, but I don't listen to it often enough. I think at this point, and I also try to diversify that, so it's not like.
You should listen to the Pirates of the Caribbean soundtrack. I bet that would slap. I fucking love that soundtrack.
Yeah.
Hans Zimmer.
But I try to listen to a bunch of different movies, so I'm not like listening to the same. I mean, Gone Girl, I wouldn't be surprised if some of those were in the top. But, I feel like it might be Subway.
You and our friend were both like, the Subway's gonna be in my. Yeah. I think I was talking about Conan Gray a few months ago, and you both were like, "No, it's gonna be the Subway for me."
I feel like it might, but then sometimes I'm really surprised, so I don't know.
Mine was Good Luck Babe, I think, this past year, and I was like, well,
yes. Yeah. We'll see.
All right.
Okay, guys.
I think this was a good ep.
I think it was a good topic. I mean, it's stuff what we've talked about already a lot, and so it's like, now you guys get to listen in here and, get our thoughts and opinions.
We're heeding your advice. More themed days.
Drop in the comments, if you have any media hot takes.
Yep. And
you can say if you agree with our hot takes, and if you don't, then don't leave a comment. I don't really care. Just kidding.
And also comment below if you have any themes you want us to do. Don't put it in our advice. That's for your advice. But if you have ideas or advice for us for theme days, put it in the comments, please.
Themes are like topics that you may want us to address. Not saying that we will, but just
but
don't put it in the advice.
Exactly.
Put it in the comments to farm engagement, and then we can also other people can see it. If they're interested, they can give a like, and then we know, there's multiple people who want to hear us talk about it.
Yep.
Don't try to trick us into doing something, talking about something, we're not gonna talk about something if we don't want to talk about it. So
Yeah.
don't be thinking you're gonna do a gotcha for us. So, but anyways,
right.
Socials.
Yes, follow us on our socials. Where We Know Better Pod everywhere, but We Know Better Pod with 2D specifically on TikTok. Hit the TikTok soon because we're going to be dropping some, well, I think they'll already be dropped by this point, but we're going to be dropping some Halloween TikToks, and hopefully we'll go out sometime soon dressed up and actually make more of these trends that are definitely going to be passing by at this point. I don't care though. There's some good trends we want to do. Morgan's Instagram and TikTok is MorCooper2020, and I am Edgy Liz on TikTok and elizabethrosepenabrown on Instagram. Make sure to follow us all there. That'll be it for us today. Oh, and also, advice is always linked if you want to bare your soul to us, and we'll give you, I think, good advice based on this episode. Or, based on last episode, some pretty harsh advice about being a trad wife or not.
Right.
All right.
Okay, guys.
All right.
See you next time.